It's just,
That's a good
especially if it's a
starting
stock.
point.
I mean, you could go back to a certain date in the paper and say, what was it selling for?
Right,
at that
exactly. We
particular
can
date.
do that and use that as a basis. And that's pretty close. If you know when the date they sold it, or a date real close to it, you can go back and get the.
Well,
use
that's a
that.
good question. You say a date real close. How strict is the IRS on those types of, I mean, does it have to be exact or close enough or?
It can be close enough. If you've shown that you have put forth a good effort to get the information and you document how you try to get the information, the IRS will accept that.
Okay, so you should be more afraid of just not reporting it at all than of getting it wrong.
That's correct. That's correct.
Because if you get it wrong, you get a chance to correct it, right?
Correct.
I'm here talking to our friends from H&R Block, Tom Newcomb and Vivian Scott, and we mentioned tax implications for actors. And there's a lot of us out there, and for the most part, I don't care about you guys. I want help for my own taxes. So please, tell me some of the things that I can deduct as an actor.
Well, actors they get special deductions that normal.
Because we're special.
Because you're very special, Jerry. Most people cannot take deductions for dry cleaning of their clothes. That's a deduction. Your hair looks very nice.
Thank you.
Your haircuts are deductible.
Toothpaste?
Yeah. So all of those, some of these things that most taxpayers, we have these deductions, but we're not allowed to deduct them on our taxes, but actors are.
Because in our business, you have to look good.
And even when it comes down to actually working out at the gym, because you have to look good.
Oh, I missed
So-
that one this year. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to take that one.
So there's some special things that actors can do that the IRS allows you to deduct that most of us don't.
Wait a minute, that's all dependent, of course, on if we get paid to act, right? It has to be taken against income.
Absolutely.
Oh, shucks. Unfortunately, in the Baltimore, Washington area, I would guess that 85% of the actors who call themselves professional make less than about $5,000 a year from acting in this area. And it's unfortunate, but true. There are some that do very well, and lots of different business type things. How about transportation type expenses?
Okay, with transportation, most people think that they can deduct commuting.
Oh, I thought I could buy a new car off of my taxes. Can't do that?
Well, one of the things that you can deduct so far is transportation. If you work 2 jobs in one day, say as an actor, you have to go from one site to another site, you can deduct the
Which is
mileage.
not unusual.
Which is not unusual for actors. And so you're able to deduct the mileage or the actual expenses.
But not the commute mileage from home.
No, not the commuting mileage from home.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of good tips for that. Do seniors get any special tax breaks? We mentioned seniors, and we mentioned some of the concerns in terms of paying the taxes. Do they get any additional breaks? Are they as good as actors?
Well, we have, one of the things we have is credit for the elderly. Unfortunately, that has pretty much gone by the wayside for most people because they've never raised the amounts. They started at $5,000 for single, $7,500 married filing joint, and $3,750 for married filing separate. The problem is, you have to subtract Social Security dollar for dollar.
Not to interrupt you, but again, for those of you who don't know, we're here at the top of the world in beautiful downtown Baltimore. This is a public forum. There are tours going through here all the time. You hear children screaming in the background, and they're having fun just as we are. Now, back to where we left off. Tom, you were completing a question about credit for the elderly, and I'm assuming that's something that we can all go down and lobby in Annapolis and in Washington so we can get it back, or increase the
Washington
limits.
would be the place because it's federal.
Well, why stop there? We'll get one in Maryland as well.
But the thing is, first of all, you've got to subtract, as I said, Social Security dollar for dollar. If you got anything left, then you got to take $15,000, I think it is, off of your adjusted gross income and take half of that and subtract that too. So by the time you get everything down to it, it's zero.
I can't imagine that many seniors are making that
Well,
much
since
more than that in Social
1986,
Security and whatnot.
I'm sorry, since 1986, personally, I've had one client who's qualified for credit for the elderly. One client.
So senior power doesn't quite work in that regard.
No, on that one, it's pretty bad.
Let's go the other way. What's the minimum that you have to make in order to file for our grandchildren and our children, et cetera? When do they have to file a return?
Well, the first one, they make investment income of $2,300, I think it is, isn't it?
That's all.
That number gets inflated every year, so I believe it's $26.50 this year.
26, oh, boy.
Well, with less than 1% interest on most of the savings accounts out there, you're probably not gonna make that a whole lot unless they've got other income from other investments that their grandparents or parents put aside for them.
Well, they need to file a tax return if they have any taxes withheld, because that's the only way they're gonna get it back.
Okay?
And they must file a return if they go over, is it $5,700 this year, isn't it?
It's $5,700.
Right. Now they have, their standard deduction is all they can get because their parents are claiming them, is limited to their earned income plus $250. And that's to take in consideration for investment income.
Okay, that's another good question that you bring to mind. You mentioned standard deduction. That's always an issue. Should I take the standard deduction or should I itemize? What's the best way to determine that?
And that's relative. That's relative. And
So I should ask my uncle.
And one thing that we want everyone to know is that
Uncle Sam, of course.
everyone's taxes are unique, so you would have to look at each situation by itself. So if you are, if your standard deduction is, if you're single, it's going to be $5,700,
Okay.
and if you're married, it's $11,400.
Right.
So it's every year that number is inflated.
What I hear and read many articles about the marriage penalty. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
A few years ago, married people's standard deduction was not double the single.
Okay.
Now, I think
Is double.
it is, and that happened a
So
couple
that
years
has
ago.
been corrected.
That
To
has
a
been
certain
corrected.
extent.
Okay, so taxes are not a good reason to not get married
Well, the certain
anymore.
the certain
What are the other good reasons? No, never mind.
a certain extent is that on the standard deduction, if you're over 65, if you're married, they add $1,100 for each one's over 65 or blind. If you're single, they add $1,400. So it is a completely.
So you're still better off not being married. Buy $300. I don't know what you can buy these days for $300, but it's probably enough to pay you guys to do the taxes, right? What would be the standard fee to help any of our clients, any of our customers out there, our viewers, in doing their taxes? What does H&R Block? What's the fee structure for H&R Block?
Well, this year, Jerry, we're running a special. If it's a single person with one W-2 and no dependents and not a lot of interest, then we're running a special this year. It's a great deal. And with that, you also get our guarantee that your taxes have been done correctly, and we will stand behind you. And so this year.
But you can't answer questions, right, unless you're asked?
Well, we can answer questions, but we can't not represent you.
Okay.
We can answer questions, but we're not able to go down unless you're an enrolled agent, as Tom is.
Okay. Now, if someone of our viewers out here wanted to use your services, what are the fees for what you do?
The fees are based on the work that we do, and they are set up in the computer, and the computer actually prices the return for us. So we have nothing to do with setting the fees. We do have a special running this year that you may or may not be able to take advantage of. It depends on your return. Your return is more important than the price. We are there to help you.
So any of our viewers who are watching this, you're saying can get this, could possibly qualify for this discount that you're talking about?
They could, depending on their situation.
I'll be the first one to call.
But you can call and we'll give you an estimate. We'll give you a free estimate. You can come in to one of the offices or you can call and we can give you an estimate.
And I'm sure the number that they call will be floating across the bottom of our screen in and out as we go through this interview. And as we're getting towards that, we're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back.
Got nothing to lose. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Ooh-wee, baby.
The Prince Charming is our third vessel in our fleet of 3 boats. He is our smallest vessel and holds comfortably between 75 and 125 guests. The boat is perfectly suited for field trips, small group events, weddings, corporate charters, and other events of that size. Let's step aboard. you'll see that the Prince boasts a beautiful wooden bar that wraps around the first deck. It is a centerpiece of this space. Also, is a seating area for 40 guests. This is where half of your guests will be able to sit during your cruise. The stern of the Prince Charming can accommodate an additional 40 to 50 guests. This is a beautiful place to enjoy your dinner and just look out the windows and watch the world go by. The top deck of the Prince Charming is everyone's favorite. The open air view is magnificent and the cool breeze is something everyone looks forward to. This is the perfect space for a wedding ceremony, a video presentation, speaker, or the dance floor for the rest of your evening. The Prince Charming hosts 4 daily 1-hour cruise a day during our season, April through October. The boat is perfect for student groups, senior groups, and tourists from all over the world. If you're a group between 65 and 125, the Prince Charming is really the ideal place for you.
So be my guest, you've got nothing to lose. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise?
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jerry Getka for the Top of the Morning Show at the Top of the World, and we're interviewing tax specialists Tom Newcomb and Vivian Scott from H&R Block. And this is our last segment. So is there anything else that we haven't covered that you can make interesting and exciting about our taxes and our requirement before April the 15th this year?
Well, one of the things that we want to get out to the public is that there are a lot of deductions this year due to the stimulus that was passed back in last year. So
I'm sure there are a lot of our viewers out there that don't feel stimulated by it yet, but hopefully that'll come.
if you've bought a home, a new home last year, there are a lot of different programs that you can take advantage of, and there could be up to $8,000 tax credit.
How about those that sold the home even though they didn't want to?
Okay.
So those that stole the home? Well, you know,
I'm thinking about the number of people out there in the problem of foreclosures. They were forced because of the economy to do something.
They do have a, they'll get a 1099A, which will give the basis of the home and the sale price against the basis, and usually they work out pretty good from the tax point. The ones who don't, who are the ones who have the debt forgiveness, they usually wind up having to pay 100%. And not always, but usually they do have to pay 100% on.
So that effectively becomes a deduction against their earnings both this year and in future years if they've got that great
It's not
loss.
a deduction, it's additional income.
It's additional income. You could have additional income, and you could also maybe have a capital gain.
But I was thinking in terms of being a capital loss because their basis may have been higher than their final sale price.
Well, this part about foreclosures. If they've lived in the home 2 to 5 years, they've got at least a portion of the exclusion that's allowed, and that's going to increase their basis, which may be higher, may come higher than what the house was worth.
That sounds like a very complicated question. Sounds like a good time for them to come in and talk to you in your office. And they can do that by calling the number running across the screen. And we've had a great time. I think we got a little complicated there towards the end, but say something. Do you have is there an IRS joke or an H&R Block joke that you do when you open up with people to make them feel comfortable when they come into your office?
One of the
Slogan of some kind?
One of the things we want them to know is that we do not work for IRS. We are not IRS agents.
That works for me.
Yeah, you mentioned some about us being agents. We're not. We're tax professionals. We do your taxes, and we try to do them 100% correct. We want you to get the most money back from the government that you can get. We won't give Uncle Sam and the state of Maryland their just due, but we want you to get as much money back as we can. That's what we work towards.
We've had a great show here today talking to our friends from H&R Block, Tom Newcomb and Vivian Scott, and they've given us lots of very useful information. All of you, for the most part, should know this is an open forum here at the Top of the World, and any of the background music or noise or voices that you hear are always the touring groups going through. Everybody's coming through here many, many times, having a lot of fun, just like we've had today. And we hope that one day soon you'll come down to the Top of the World and take a tour. Thanks again, Tom and Vivian.
It's been my pleasure.
Now, when I come to your office to have you do my taxes, you're going to give me a discount, right?
We are,
Vivian, how about you?
we are computer printout, that's what.
I put you on the spot, I'm sorry, but thanks again for coming. Thank you, everybody, bye-bye. That's a pretty good show, what do you think?
I think it's good.
Not a problem. Welcome back again, everybody. I'm Jerry Getka, and I hope you enjoyed our show today, talking to our guests from H&R Block, and we hope you'll be able to get some good information out of it. And if you need them, you can call H&R Block for your tax preparation services. And come back to our next show. We'll see you again at the top of the morning, top of the world, in beautiful downtown Baltimore.